Welcome back to Sunday Agenda. I'm Lydia Serrana. A new year, a new round of some media madness. Joining us today are the executive editor at Newsbusters, Tim Graham. Also with us, Republican strategist Whitley Yates. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you. Sure.
So Tim, on Morning Joe, it took until this very moment for the folks at MSDNC to realize what we have been saying about Biden's border crisis for years now.
The border was not Biden's finest moment, frankly. You can see what happened here. And Trump is not wrong when he talks about how border crossings were quite low. They were running about 74,000 a month when he left office. And they, in fact, did shoot up. Some of it was some things Biden said and some ways that they put a moratorium, for example, on deportations. But, in fact, we did get up here almost to 300,000 a month. But what maybe people don't entirely know is that border crossings have come back down almost to where they were under Trump. They're running at about 100,000 at the moment. So we went up the hill and we went down the hill, but unfortunately that was pretty costly to Biden during the election.
So where was this? Where is this reporting for years now, Tim?
Well, this is Morning Joe. You know, it was funny for Steve Ratner to break up the chart here, but we know that Morning Joe's been the show where they say ridiculous things about Biden, like, this intellectually is the best Biden ever. So, you know, you knew they were going to tell the truth on the border. I do get a kick out of him saying, well, maybe people didn't know that it went back down. No. MSNBC and all the other networks constantly told us in the fall that Biden had gotten the border under control. I mean, these people do and say whatever the Democrats tell them to say. So, yes, this was a little moment of, oops, post-election truth-telling.
I know, right? And then Whitley, the truth-telling apparently hasn't reached some CNN guests. They had a panel to discuss Biden's legacy, and one of them looks like she kind of got drunk on the Kool-Aid than anyone was prepared for. Take a look at this.
Look, he showed up for the job. He got the work done. I think some of the accomplishments also in the Middle East and foreign policy will also stand the test of time.
You think the Middle East is in better shape today than when he took office?
Well, I think he got our hostages home. I think that's a big deal. I think it's important.
I'm sorry, which hostages?
He's gotten a number of people home. He was able.
There's still 100 people over there.
Well, there were more than that.
Including some Americans. Look, I think he's gonna leave office in disgrace.
You got to love Scott Jennings there, fact-checking her. What do you think about that, Whitley?
I mean, it almost sounds like she's not in reality. We know that he was terrible, not only on the border, but foreign affairs, losing many of our men and women in uniform, and also leaving hostages over there. And so the fact that those on CNN and on this panel are continuing to attempt to gaslight Americans into this revisionist history of a lackluster legacy is terrible.
It really is. So MSDNC apparently also pondering what kind of future Kamala Harris will leave. What kind of future she'll have once she leaves office. But I have to ask, what kind of future does a VP have who doesn't know the words of the Pledge of Allegiance? Take a look at this.
I don't think the world has seen the last of Vice President Kamala Harris. I don't know how she will show up again, but she is a young politician who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, and she will be back. When it comes to Donald Trump and his presidency, I know a lot of folks are like, Donald Trump has a lot of bluster. We need to wait and see what he will do. We have seen what he has done, and while I think it would be wrong for people to make big predictions about his presidency, I think people need to pay attention to what he says and what he actually does and judge him on that, not some fantasy land we think we live in.
Tim, didn't she work for Kamala Harris and quit?
Yes, she was one of many people who worked in the Kamala Harris communications shop and left. You know, this was an issue really that there should have been more focus on. But, you know, they wanted to present her as a fantastic candidate when in reality, if you really looked at the way that there was such a revolving door of people in her office, just remarkable turnover. It told you she was a hot mess. But, you know, I especially like the spin that it's like, Kamala's 60. Well, she's really young. She's got a big future ahead of her. It's like, okay, if you're on the Biden scale, maybe.
You know, and speaking of MSDNC, Joyless Reed is always quick to hate on America, this country that obviously afforded her so many amazing opportunities. Here's her take on crime here.
The thing is, crime is actually down in America year over year. But it doesn't feel safe in this, the most violent, non-war-torn country on earth. We're frankly terrorized, numb and terrorized at the same damn time.
I don't even know what
The
to
crime is that shirt.
and that haircut. I don't. I don't even. How could she say crime is down? We know that's not true. The FBI refuting that. The crime is up across the nation. Then she's saying we're being terrorized. Who? By white supremacists, Whitley?
I'm not sure. We were just terrorized by that tacky shirt that she had on. But in reality, we're watching people get burned to death in New York subway stations. Migrant crime is up at an all-time high. People are running into Lululemon, stealing clothes out of the stores. I mean, it is lawlessness. And the prosecutors, specifically the Democratic prosecutors, are not prosecuting crime. So I know that Joy Ann Reid lives in the world inside her head, but I need her to step into reality. They've lost the election, and it's time for a come to Jesus moment.
I want to go to this Whitney Cummings clip from CNN from New Year's Eve. Let's take a listen. Andy Cohen, Anderson Cooper, clip number 6. So let's take a listen to comedian Whitney Cummings.
Americans really are more reasonable than they would be portrayed. They're pretty great, and I'm playing bigger and bigger venues now. I'm not playing, like 3,000 seat theaters, which is about the viewership of CNN these days. Not this show, though. Nice. All eyes are on this show.
Wow, you're all fired.
And the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader doc showed the girls being treated horribly, underpaid, crying. I thought I'd open a video on Hunter Biden's laptop. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright.
Too busy holding a body upright. She was dropping truth bombs left and right, Tim. Will Whitney Cummings be invited back to CNN again?
Well, I don't know. They kept inviting Kathy Griffin back again and again. She's sort of the anti-Kathy Griffin here. She was, Whitney Cummings has not been known as some sort of Republican comedian. I think she was more sort of the sort of comedian that was upset that Biden took this long to get out and that they didn't have a primary. You can be a Democrat and be angry about that, but it is pretty funny to try to say that on CNN.
What did you think about her, Whitley?
I support all of the Whitneys and the Whitleys, specifically those in white coats telling the truth. I thought all of her jokes, which actually were not jokes at all, were the absolute truth, were hilarious. CNN ratings being down, Biden having to be propped up, not only by the party, but by anybody, as we watched him blunder and fall all over stage, was hilarious. And the fact that she said what Americans were thinking was the best part, a best way to bring in the new year.
It certainly was. Tim Graham, Whitley Yates, Happy New Year to you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.